How's it going, guys? Vaibhav from GN Tech, and welcome to another camera comparison, this time between the Samsung Galaxy Note20 Ultra and the Samsung Galaxy Note10 Plus. I'm recording this on the front-facing cameras on both of these smartphones at 4K 60 FPS resolution, and here's what the footage looks like. Okay, so now I've switched to 4K 30 FPS on both of these smartphones, and once again throughout these videos I'll be switching the audio profiles from both these smartphones so you get a better idea of which smartphone does the better job when it comes to voice recording capabilities as well. Finally, here's a look at 1080p 30 FPS footage from both of these smartphones, once again switching audio profiles, and this time we're gonna go for a quick jog to judge the stabilization of both the front-facing cameras on these smartphones, and that'll give you an overall idea of the quality of these phones. So that's about it.
Alright, so this is what we're looking at when it comes to both smartphones with their primary camera setups. The Note20 Ultra brings a number of changes, including that 108 megapixel primary camera and the periscope telephoto lens for up to 50 times zoom. However, with the Note10 Plus, you get a dual aperture sensor, an extra 3D TOF sensor, and a higher resolution ultra wide angle camera, so things could get interesting. As different as the primary setup is though, the front setup on both smartphones is identical, so the only differences we expect to see might be to do with software processing. We're starting off with this sample of a flower, and we see that the shallow depth of field look, or that DSLR-like look, come through from the Note20 Ultra sample once again. The Note10 Plus has a slightly higher sharpness though, especially moving towards the center of the flower. With both phones having a scene optimizer mode, it's not surprising to see fairly similar results, with the Note10 Plus perhaps having a slightly more vibrant picture on the overall. With this image, the primary goal was to check dynamic range, with the Note10 Plus being one of the best smartphones last year with dynamic range. But the Note20 Ultra definitely takes it up a few steps here, showing how impressive dynamic range processing is, and a more professional looking photo on the overall front with a softer background, mimicking a traditional DSLR-like camera. In this next image though, the green colors between both samples are slightly different. The Note20 Ultra shifts to a cooler look compared to the warmer look on the Note10 Plus, and cropping in here you do see that extra sharpness from the Note20 Ultra come through in this case. Going back to the original sample now, we can take a look at how the ultra wide angle camera changes things up. Both phones stick to the same color profiles as initially seen, and the sway between the wide and the ultra wide angle camera in terms of color isn't very noticeable, but cropping in there is a hint more sharpness on the Note10 Plus's image, especially looking at the trees in the background and the building, and this might be to do with the Note10 Plus's higher resolution ultra wide angle camera. Time to switch now to some native zoom samples though. This is at the original zoom levels on both phones, and next up we're looking at a 2x zoom sample. Cropping this further, you see slightly more detail from the Note10 Plus sample, which shows how strong the 2x optical zoom really is on the phone. In fact, even at 3x zoom, the Note10 Plus sample shows a much higher degree of sharpness over the Note20 Ultra sample, which looks much softer in comparison. But as we zoom further, especially at 5x zoom, the dynamic range captured from the Note20 Ultra sample is better than that of the Note10 Pluses. And this is evident when cropping in even further, with the Note20 Ultra retaining more detail in this case, showing that it is more capable at longer zoom distances over the Note10 Plus. At 10x zoom, it is much of the same story once again, and with the Note20 Ultra you can go all the way up to 50x zoom. However, you do need to be very stable when taking photos like this, and any movement results in blurry results. Away from the greens, let's focus on some blues. Here the difference is the slightly more contrasty look from the Note20 Ultra in comparison to the Note10 Plus, but I wanted to take this photo primarily to compare the 108 megapixel mode on the Note20 Ultra, something that the Note10 Plus does not have. With it switched on, there is a slight difference, and cropping into the image, edges are a bit sharper and noise does see a reduction. However, the difference between both smartphones is not anything substantial. Moving to portraits, it's evident that the Note20 Ultra crops in a bit more in this instance, and the way it handles colors and edge detection is more true to life in this case. That's not to discount the Note10 Plus's image by any means, because that too delivers a good image with a slight sway in colors. Even when using the wide portrait option, colors from the Note20 Ultra sample are just a bit more vibrant. Here, there are some edge detection flaws with both images, more noticeable towards the subject on the Note 10 Plus, whereas it's on the bottom left side near the twigs on the Note 20 Ultra. In the same breath, let's take a look at skin tone processing, where each phone does different things. There's a sway towards a warmer look on the Note 20 Ultra, while the Note 10 Plus looks, at least to me, more natural. However, the level of detail on the Note 20 Ultra sample is higher in this case. Both phones do fairly well with edge detection, although the Note 20 Ultra's sharper edge processing gets it right over the softer processing on the Note 10 Plus. With a wider view, the processing seems similar, but the Note 10 Plus seems to do a better job here, perhaps due to that beautification shown on the Note 20 Ultra sample, which I'm not a fan of. And to be honest, the difference may also be due to the fact that the Note 10 Plus has a dedicated depth sensor, which is something that's missing on the Note 20 Ultra. This difference in processing also comes through with the front-facing camera, despite them being exactly the same on paper. With portrait selfies, edge detection is similar, which is not surprising to see. This is a look at wide selfies, and if anything, there's a bit more sharpness to the Note 20 Ultra's image sample. You can also take wide portrait selfies here, but edge detection, given my lockdown look, isn't that impressive on either smartphone. We've seen quite a few day samples, so let's now move on to some night ones. In this image, you see the Note 20 Ultra show some more contrast and sharpness over the Note 10 Plus, and when enabling night mode, both phones do well to process, but it seems like the Note 10 Plus's processing is a bit over the top, and the photo looks a bit over sharpened compared to the Note 20 Ultra, which is able to retain a more natural look in my opinion. We've got another sample here, and let's crop in to see how both sensors are doing with detail. It's clear that the Note 20 Ultra shows an improvement in this front over the Note 10 Plus for sure. Enabling night mode, it's clear that the Note 20 Ultra has the better looking image, especially with detail retention in the darker areas. This is a sample from the ultra wide lenses, and both show a drop off in quality for sure, but it seems like the Note 10 Plus sample has the better quality, and that again might be due to that higher resolution sensor on the phone. Of course, with night mode on the ultra wide angle sensor, the image quality from the Note 20 Ultra is much better with less noise, showing that Samsung is working on software processing in this case. Just throwing in another sample here, we see that the Note 20 Ultra goes for a darker look, and that was evident in our earlier comparison between the iPhone 11 Pro Max as well, so if you want to check that out, click the card above. But with night mode enabled on both these smartphones, the Note 20 Ultra just seems to get the balance in the overall photo much better, which people will appreciate for sure. Here are some photos in even lower light conditions, and as you can see, without night mode, the variable aperture on the Note 10 Plus may be coming into play for that better picture look. Night mode though improves both images to more or less the same degree, but white balance processing sways towards the greenish side on the Note 20 Ultra, which is something to keep in mind, whereas on the Note 10 Plus, the image looks a bit more natural. Wrapping up with this one here, once again you see the differences between the cameras without night mode come through, but with it, results improve drastically, and perhaps the more vibrant look of the Note 20 Ultra is what people may prefer when looking at these photos side by side. I also have a few selfies to compare here, showing a big difference when using night mode. So while the exposure of the image is better on the Note 10 Plus, the noise levels from the Note 20 Ultra seem to be better. Without night mode, things aren't too good with the wide selfie option, but once again, with night mode, the difference is night and day. If you look at the overall brightness, once again, the Note 10 Plus is better, but the quality of the image itself, given it has more detail with less brightness, comes from the Note 20 Ultra. So I guess this is more to do with personal preference, but I do prefer the Note 20 Ultra with the detail it brings. Okay, time to move to videos now. This is a quick focus test between the cameras, and as evident, Samsung has fixed the focus issue that was a problem on the S20 Ultra with the Note 20 Ultra. And focus is definitely on par with the Note 10 Plus, so no complaints from either phone here. Both phones can also record 240 fps slow motion video footage and 960 fps video footage as well, though the Note 10 Plus's sample of the latter seems better for some reason in this case. With 1080p 30 fps video samples, we're looking at an improved dynamic range and stabilization experience from the Note 20 Ultra. It's evident even more so when running, and that's good to see already in terms of video improvements. Before switching to the ultra wide angle mode though, here's a quick transition for you to judge color differences and how that change looks. The ultra wide sensor shows improvements in dynamic range, but video stability from both is about the same when running. The trend with 1080p 60fps footage is once again that dynamic range is improved on the Note 20 Ultra. However, stability seems almost the same, with both phones showing similar jerky motion, especially when running. Something to keep in mind though is that neither phone can record at 1080p 60fps using the ultra wide angle sensor. Both phones also come with a super steady video mode, which shows a similar level of performance, although when switching to the narrow super steady mode, it is worth noting that the quality of the Note 20 Ultra sensor sees a big hit, with the Note 10 Plus sample doing a much better job in this case. Now we move to 4K 30fps samples, which once again look a bit sharper, helped by that dynamic range from the Note 20 Ultra. However, more importantly, the Note 20 Ultra also shows better stabilization from footage when running. But when using the ultra wide lens at 4K, there is a better sharpness from the Note 10 Plus's sensor as opposed to the better dynamic range on the Note 20 Ultra. 4K 60fps stabilization also seems to be improved on the Note 20 Ultra over the Note 10 Plus, with smoother footage and less jitter, especially when running, so that is good to see. However, once again, neither phone can film 4K 60fps video using the ultra wide angle sensors. Of course, on the Note 20 Ultra, you do get that extra 8K 24fps option, which may be useful at certain times, but keep in mind, footage does get cropped in. Its dynamic range is good and quality improvements are evident, but it doesn't warrant a use case as it still needs improvement when it comes to stabilization, especially if you plan on taking any running samples at this resolution. We're going to repeat this same video sample starting at 1080p 30fps at night, where the Note 20 Ultra shows a hint more sharpness in the overall video quality, so that's nice to see. This is evident even more so with the ultra wide angle footage at this resolution. Especially at 1080p 60fps, the Note 20 Ultra shows a big improvement in quality, so that might have been something that Samsung has worked on this time around. But definitely, even at 4K 30fps, the quality from the Note 20 Ultra overall is just much better than the Note 10 Plus, and this is evident more so when recording with the ultra wide angle sensor at this resolution, where noise levels are suppressed much better. This is a look at 4K 60fps samples, where it's much of the same story once again, and for completion's sake, here's an 8K footage sample from the Note 20 Ultra. But to be honest, I wouldn't recommend using 8K, especially in these conditions, because it's not something that brings about a big difference in quality, and if anything, it actually reduces the overall level of quality of your recording when compared to 4K 30fps. And that about wraps up this comparison. So let us know what you think down in the comments below and which phone you prefer. Is it the Samsung Galaxy Note 20 Ultra or is it the Galaxy Note 10 Plus? Thanks for watching this one and do subscribe for more videos coming shortly. This was Vaibhav and I'll see you in the next one. Adios.